Thank you. And all right. Okay, now I can't see anything anymore. Okay. How many are developers in the room? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I will try to not over tackle this. Because it literally is called ERC725Account, which is okay. Yeah, I want to talk about a topic that is actually quite important, and it's also the topic that I think has plagued the space since a long time, and that's the question of UX, and this is a question of how we are using this technology. But it also, has been plugged into the internet itself, because the internet is actually broken. We have a lot of identities, we have a lot of different silos, and every website has its own account system. Everybody has their own profile. We need to kind of redo ourselves every time we go somewhere and create another profile. And it's repetitive and it's scattered. And specifically, it's not ours. Actually, nothing really in the internet without Web3 would be ours, because it's just a login that we have to servers of third parties. But what if we could unify ourselves? What if we could unify our digital self while also being the only one in control? While being the ones who actually own our identity and being the one in control of our actions online. But what also if we could merge Web 2 and Web 3? Because we always either talk about, hey, this is Web 3, and the Web 2 people don't call themselves Web 2, they call themselves the internet. And we create this divide between the ones who crossed the path across the river to the Holy Land, who understood seed phrases, and the rest of the internet. But what if we could make it actually not a divide anymore? And what if we wouldn't even know that? Right? We wouldn't see that there's a Web 3 and a Web 2. So that's the idea behind universal profiles, which has a nice identicon in the internet already, called Up, which you find on every phone. And the idea is basically, what if we could unify our Web 2 and our Web 3 self underneath a profile that is a Web 3 profile, which means it's a wallet, but we could also show our Web 2 things below, which in a version is kind of like Linktree on steroids, where we can unify our digital selves. So we could show all of our Web 2 stuff, but we could also show our Web 3 collections, or the tokens that we own, which nowadays seem to be all meme coins. And because everybody is unique, these identities and these profiles will look very different for everybody. So I guess you're all now saying, hey, wow, do we need another website? Do I need to transport my whole identity over now and create another account and do everything from scratch? And why would I do that? I already have Twitter and I already have Instagram. And that's where, what we are building is a little different, because it's not about a product. What we need is a new foundation. And you probably, as we're here at ETHMilan, heard about Ethereum, and you probably also heard about standards, right? And how important and afflictious a standard is. And you probably all heard about the first standard called ERC725 that I happened to create in 2015. I also termed this name Ethereum request for comment. Just made it up. The number 20 is just the GitHub issue number 20, in case anybody's wondering. There were no 20 other tries before. So it was the first smart contract standard. It's also the most widely used smart contract standard And it kind of led to everything we see and that we have in this space. Like from the ICO, it led to DeFi. From DeFi, it led to NFTs. And now we're all sitting here, you know, thinking what's next. So, you know, if you let that think in for a second, not that I made the standard, but the fact that, that standards are really the crucial piece in blockchain, because if you have a generic network like Ethereum, you need to agree on the basic building blocks. And ideally, those basic building blocks give you a lot of possibilities. And as we know, with ERC20, a few little lines of code and a few agreements on a smart contract that has a balance of function and a transfer function and a few other functions already was enough to create everything we have. So what I did, my team and I, over the last 6 years, spent a lot of time inventing a holistic set of smart contract standards. And I'm trying to make that not technical, but it is the essence of everything. What means holistic? Traditional Chinese medicine. You know, holistic means that things work together. So that you're not only building one standard and then somebody else come up with another one, and that this stuff doesn't really go together except you hack it in a weird way. Holistic means that you think things through in such a way that they're working together by default. And that's specifically important when we want to move this space to the next frontier, let's call it. So we call them LUKSO standards proposals. And why not Ethereum request for comment if you already made up the name? The reason is that the Ethereum standards space is very noisy. We have hundreds of standard proposals, thousands actually. And it's very hard to get an agreement around a single thing. So if you come up with a whole set of new standards, not just one, but more than 20, and you build them in such a way that they holistically work together, it would take probably 50 years to get an agreement around those. And we will never move anywhere. So sometimes you need to step outside, make it somewhere else, and then come back and serve the dish, like a good cook, you know? So we actually developed a set of smart contract standards, but we also did that even more granular. We developed different building blocks that make up different things. Like, for example, a new token standard, an evolved version of ERC20. That's it, because it's out of view, and it's called LSP7, and a new NFT standard. And as you can see, they're all made out of different pieces. But the most important piece is actually a smart contract account standard, hence the title in the beginning of the presentation. And this smart contract account standard is made out of a lot of different standards again. And that is very, very important, because when you have those building blocks and you make sure those building blocks work well together with the other building blocks like tokens and NFTs, you actually can create a whole new more possibilities than what we have seen in the last 10 years of Ethereum alone. 9 years, where networks start. Anyway, you need a lot of standards and they need to work perfectly together. And a lot of standards, lots of numbers. But it not only looks like a hamster, no, it does actually look like something that people would find more pleasing. So we call this set of standards universal profile. And the thing is, you need to think, okay, what do you need? What does an account, if we really think outside of the box, and we think, okay, if we could make up the account of the internet, what would it need? And because we're putting it on a blockchain, specifically what should be there? So I want to run you through what does a new standardized account would need. So we definitely need the way to attach information. Without attaching information to your account, then you don't have a profile picture, you don't have an identity, you can't maybe come up with KYC data or additional data that the protocol requires. You couldn't add any of the stuff that anybody wants maybe need down the road who wants to use your account or wants to interact with your account. So we needed to standardize of how you attach information into your smart contract account. You also need to make sure that your account can react automatically. That means if any token is sent to you, or an NFT, or a future protocol wants to interact with your account, that your account can react. And it could fire an event, like the universal receiver event, but it should also be able to react automatically with some smart contract logic that you want to probably create, where you could have a whole app store of ways to automate your account. Just these two things alone will pretty much enable thousands of new things you can build now. And the fun fact is, in the current smart contract account discussions in Ethereum, those are not even being discussed at all. But they're the essential pieces to make an account an account. You obviously want to control your account through multiple devices, very important. And if you're a DAO, you might even want multiple members, or if you're an organization and a corporation, you need multiple people. Maybe you want to have a role system and departments and everything else. So you want to control your account in complex ways. But obviously you do need permissions. So you need to have different ways of how you can restrict certain controller keys. I mean, for the ones who are using Gnosis Safe, which is the current account that people use on Ethereum that's more sophisticated. It's great, but it's a multisig, right? And a multisig means every key can do everything if you make it an 1 out of M multisig. So with permissions, you allow this to be more fine-grained, restricted. You could, for example, say that your mobile phone has access to a certain set of tokens, but it can never recover your account or change the permissions, but your home computer then has the ability to change permissions on your account, and a third party has the ability to recover your account, right? You want to have these kind of fine-grained permissions. Obviously, we want to have gasless transactions, or at least users want to feel they're not paying directly initially. So you need a way to make gasless transactions. But you also want to be able to extend your account. You want to do batch transactions. You want to do a lot of more things that are then more kind of relevant for developers. Obviously, you want to log in too with your account. So having such an account system, which in this case, fun fact, the idea of this and the first early version of that was in 2017. So it actually is the first ever standardized smart contract account, and it happened to take a few years to build it out, all the different pieces that you saw before, to what it is today. And these standards are existing, and they are well documented, they are live, and we're building the tools to make them more easy, accessible for normal people. So with the right foundations, we can create truly decentralized applications. And not just DeFi wallets, and not just trading yet another meme coin or another new thing that comes up, but making an internet account truly decentralized while making it accessible by people. So if you take the standardized route, you could build websites where the pieces that you have on it are actually standards. Same like we have ERC20 across all the wallets and exchanges and marketplaces, 7-to-1 and so on, right? We can standardize the pieces that we interact with on our account and have different kind of applications be able to just read it and interact with it. So standards allow interoperability. And our interoperability means that you can have one basis, but it can just look different depending on where it's displayed and whatever app wants to use it in whatever form they want to use it. So a universal profile is that kind of standard. It is a profile that is a wallet and a smart contract account and a very flexible foundation to build any kind of thing. And what you're seeing here, these apps are existing, they are live. You can actually create a profile today to go to Universal Everything, create a profile. Right now you need a browser extension. We will make it more accessible. There's a mobile app coming very soon. There will be a way that you create these profiles in the browser and you wouldn't even know. But it is a truly decentralized profile that you can own yourself, and where now developers can build things around it and applications can build, front ends for it and integrate it in whatever way they see fit. So my invitation is to the builders specifically, and also the users, to actually start playing with those new standards. They sit on LUKSO, which is an Ethereum blockchain that we started last year. It was started by the community decentralized, it's run by the community decentralized. It uses the same tech as Ethereum, but it has one big advantage. It has new standard as the building blocks. So no ERC725 on LUKSO. It actually uses the new token standards, and it uses the new Universal Profile Smart Contract account as the base account. At least that's what we recommend to people, and so far everybody, the 20,000 accounts that exist have done that. And with that kind of a foundation, we can merge Web 2 and Web 3 and make the internet, and give the internet its proper foundation to be seamless. So that's everything I have today. I think we have a little bit of time if you have a question or questions. All right. You can also clap. You can clap. Okay. Thank you.
This seems like a very foundational piece of the decentralized future. Are institutions, you sound German, so at the European level or whatever regulatory environment you're in, are reacting to this topic? Because this is very clear, very basic, and it should be pushed forward, and institutions should understand, because it seems that somebody understands what needs to be done with Web 2, how it needs to be treated, and
I mean, ERC725Account was mentioned in publications that have to do with identity. Even though I studied media design, I'm not an academic person. And my time is limited and focused on building this stuff. So someone else needs to educate the rest of the world about why it makes sense. But on top of this, it needs to be understood that this is a smart contract account standard that sits on a blockchain. Currently, it sits on LUKSO. This standard works on every chain. On LUKSO, you just get all the other cool standards as well, so you can do a lot more things. It sits on a blockchain, on a public network. That means it's inherently a public account. So if you put your face on this account and your name, you kind of make yourself pretty transparent. If you choose to not put your name, or you put Mickey Mouse, right, then you're just Mickey Mouse. If you don't put anything, you have all the features still and no face, and that's fine too. So blockchain accounts, they do have this kind of transparency. That's how blockchain accounts work so far. So I'm not exactly sure if I would want to put all my passport data right now on a universal profile. I differentiate between hard and soft identity. I personally would like to see universal profiles being used for a soft identity, like your internet account and your social account first. Hard identity, you can actually literally put anything in here. It works probably also for putting more secret storage systems that you reference from your profile that have selective revealing data. You could do that too. So yeah, it is, I think, the only foundation that is as sophisticated as this for a smart contract blockchain account. So the advantage is you have a profile or an account, an actual account you can even log into websites with. That is also a wallet. That means you can do all the Web3 stuff as well. And then it can literally be spread everywhere in terms of the institutions and everything else. And I do think, because in the institutional world, people think about DIDs and the Web3 Foundation stuff, or Internet Foundation. This solves the root identity problem. That means, what is the root identity and where does it sit? Where can I go look about somebody's identity, and where I find everything else. That solves that. DID does not solve that. DID has a lot of DID providers, and you have no idea where to go and to look. You know, that's hence why it's not really adopted as en masse. So yes, it could also be a great tool for institutions. So whoever wants to be academic researcher here, go. It's all open source. You can go read it and tell them. Yeah.
Hi. I'm here. Yeah. Jacopo. Nice to meet you. So you already touched something that I mean, this standard can touch in some way, you know, the Christopher Allen view of self-sovereign identity. So I'm just questioning if is a sort of complementary standard, or I mean, are there any something in common of the standard that you propose to the SSI standard?
I mean, like I said, there is no real SSI standard. There's DIDs. And DIDs is basically just JSON files that have private keys that link to each other that someone is hosting somewhere. And then you have external wallets that somehow can control your DIDs in some form or another. So it's quite messy and complicated. It's not really it's confusing. So I would say that's more of an SSI than anything. It's actually very simple in the basic. I mean, it's actually very simple. You have a smart contract. That's your address that can hold information and that can generically execute on that chain and interact with anything. And because of the key manager, you can properly manage it with many devices in whatever ways you want. That solves that UX problem that the space has. So it's actually it is a unbiased, very generic identity system / account / wallet / profile, because they are just different names for the same thing anyway. Does that answer your question?
Hello, my name is Caelan. I'm from Ireland. Thanks for the talk. Just on the topic of identity and merging Web 2 and Web 3, I'm curious to know about your plan to merge the reputation mechanics of both, because I guess reputation's a bit of a trending topic the last few weeks and months. And yeah, just wondering if you have any standards or implementation plan for that as well.
Yeah, so we have one standard. It's a follower standard. It's basically just a simple smart contract singleton where people can follow each other. So if you create a universal profile on universal everything, you can actually follow then other profiles. And the beautiful thing about a smart contract-based follower system, every app has access to the same followers. So you don't lose them anymore. You take them across apps. The system is so generic that anybody could come up now and invent a reputation system. Somebody could come up with a token that you mint people that is a trust score. You could attach KYC information or have third parties gather CK knowledge proof followers from Twitter and from your other platforms, and somehow you display this as some kind of score on your profile. So the idea here, when you go the standard route, is not that, hey, Fabian, can you just build everything, and have you not built that standard or that standard already, and where is that UX? It's about building the foundations so that anyone can come and build those things. And we will have competing reputation systems, that's for sure, but they will be nicely linked to the same identity. And then people can pick and choose, either they have both or they have one of the two. And we need competition around this, right, to figure out what makes the most sense. But there are not anymore different platforms with different isolated identities. They're now just different competing reputation systems on the same identity system, if you will. So that's the future I see. Let people play around. So imagine we can all now create a decentralized Facebook, and one company could build the feed system, another one could build a chat app, a chat pod, and the other one could build the like system, and the other one could build the whatever follower system. We have already done that now. or maybe a Patreon system where you can, show secret posts to your subscribers. So that's the way. When you go the standardized way, we build a foundation where anybody can now build these things on top, because it's so flexible and unbiased that allows anything to be built. So this is a little bit the challenge that we have, explaining that different kind of approach, because I feel like I'm one of the only people in this space that goes the standards first approach, and then the interfaces on top of this. But that's the way that I think will lead to real growth and real UX solutions.
Thank you very much.